All right, talking about squat on the program, our program, we squat on Tuesday, and it is very much a progressive overload. That doesn't mean that I'm anti-West Side. Louis is actually a good friend of mine. But the whole method of chains and bands, and again, I'm not against, accommodating resistance. I certainly feel like there's a place, and there's times where I program with it, and that certainly has evolved over probably the last 10 years, and some of that has to do simply with becoming friends with Lou, and all the conversations that he and I have had that have been way out there, different things training. Anyway, we would squat. It's all percentage based and definitely progressive overload. What we would do for assistance, usually we would do another squat movement. It would be based on whatever the lifter needed. For me, I always did a lot of close stance stuff, usually sets of 6 or triples, and some pause stuff. Then we would do a wide stance squat, like sumo wide, and the reason why was to work the hips, and again, a compound movement, and do it in a squatting movement. I've always felt and believed and have had pretty good success in the squat, using different squat variations as assistance versus machines or whatever the case may be. And that always seemed to help me have a strong posterior chain. I have a reverse hyper, I have a GHR, I have a standing back raiser, the 45-degree hyper, whatever you like to call it, but honestly, I rarely use them. I don't box squat. There's people that I do have box squat, and I think it has a place, but I think it's one of those things that puts so much pressure on the back and hips. Again, it's a risk versus reward thing, and for me, it's not just about making the lifter strong, or it's about what can I do in the safest manner possible and diminish the chance of injury. So, do I think box squats are bad or they don't work? Listen, I've judged enough West Side lifters and guys that follow those templates, to know that it is effective. But again, my job is to teach lifters not only to get strong, but to do so in the safest manner, and that's the direction that I went. There's plenty of other templates out there to do if you feel like box squatting is for you. So after we would do the wide stance squats, then we would do, a little bit of assistance. I always did some sort of stiff leg. A lot of times I would just do it with a heavy kettlebell and just do reps, 3 sets of 12. And at that point, it was calf and tibia, which I've always felt, tibia and the neck machine are probably the most underutilized machines in any training room. But that's a separate conversation. After that, maybe some ab work, and that was it for squats. As for results, we've had a lot of people do really well. Personally, when I was 45 years old, I squatted 1040, and that's the template that I used. And when Jeremy was training with us, I squatted 800 pounds as a 308 at 48 years old. So, there you go. Those are the results. So that's what we did for squat. We had some specialty bars when we have them, sometimes cambered, sometimes safety squat bar. A lot of it really depended, versus just doing it arbitrarily. It would be based on whatever the lifter needed, whatever the weak point was, and we would try to bring that weak point up with a squat variation.